Well, hello, everybody. Welcome to Real Wealth Network's weekly webinar. My name is Ben. I'm your host today. And as you can see on the screen, we're talking about Birmingham, Alabama. And this is our Tuesday webinar, kind of open to everybody, but mainly people who have yet to connect with us. So we're going to kind of speak about Birmingham in a general sense. And then on Thursday, 2 days from today, Birmingham is going to actually come on and do the detailed webinar where they will actually have live properties available. So the way this is supposed to work is if you have not had a strategy session, or in shorthand, if you've not connected with us, then what you want to do, and you're really interested in Birmingham, what you want to do is watch this webinar and then book a session. And I've got a bunch of slots open tomorrow, which I'll be able to connect with you, and then you'll have the keys to the castle and you can waltz right through the portal and watch the detailed Thursday webinar. So that's the way it works. And Thursday, I'll repeat what she's going to do when she comes on and talks about her market. Is she's going to not spend a whole bunch of time talking about the bells and whistles of Birmingham overall. That's kind of what we're doing today. She is going to focus more on properties they have available. Here's this one. Here's this one, here's this one, and then walk through the pro formas, how they'll perform, what neighborhood they're in, why she likes it, what it looks like, some interior pictures, or maybe not, depending on what condition that property is in, and go into the details. So that's the way it works, and that's kind of the way we're doing it nowadays. Tuesday's kind of an overview of the market, and Thursday webinar dives into the nuts and bolts and with actual property availability. So our upcoming webinars, I just talked about the top one, Birmingham Income Property Showcase. Next week, we're doing the same drill again, only we're going to focus on Jacksonville, Florida. The overview on Tuesday and the actual detailed Income Property Showcase on Thursday, where you need to have had a strategy session to attend. So, and strategy session is a little bit of a misnomer sometimes. We're not going to forensically delve into a huge strategy unless you want us to. It can be just a 15, 20-minute conversation about your goals and what markets you like. And we want to kind of give you an overview of things, but it's completely tailored to you. Some people have been doing this a long time and they don't really want to hear stuff that they learned back in the mid 80s, and that's fine. We can shorthand it and whatnot. So it's completely tailored to you, but you need to have had one before you can attend the Thursday Income Property Showcase webinars. All right, hopefully that is as clear as mud. Next slide, please. All righty, so coming up this coming weekend, like 4 short days from now, we're going to have Pittsburgh, Detroit, and Jacksonville. All 3 of them are going to be in San Mateo on Saturday and Los Angeles on Sunday. And you can see the times right there, middle of the day. And if you want to register for that, please register. I always like to emphasize register, register, register. We've had quite a few people talk about it. We're going to possibly have a syndication topic, but that's being pushed off. It's not quite ready yet, but we will have those 3 property affiliates live in the flesh talking about their market and having properties available. So please register at the URL you see at the bottom, realwealthnetwork.com/live events. And if you're bringing somebody with you, they need to register independently. You can't just bring Uncle Bob or Cousin Vinny. Bob and Vinny, they need to sign up and register and have a strategy session also. All right, that's me, investment counselor, director of investor relations, going on 30 years, slogging around the real estate industry in various incarnations, sometimes while working another job, sometimes while not. I did a bunch of stuff out west, California, Arizona, used to do fix and flips there for a while, a couple of years in the heyday of 2012 and 2013. Then the margins kind of dried up and I had to find something else to do. I had my day job, but I did that on the side. That was fun. And right now I've got 12 properties. Goal is to get to 15 and then start paying them off, although I've actually already started. Then another thing we were thinking about maybe doing on the event coming up is talk just about syndications, just kind of a general investment discussion of why buy and hold. We get a lot of questions on that. I know Joe, Aristotle, and I were the 3 investment counselors with Real Wealth Network, And we frequently get questions. People are like, well, gee, I really like syndications. I'm intrigued by Costa Rica. I'm intrigued by various things, but I'm also really like buy and hold. So we'll keep it really general, but we'll talk about, why one versus the other and what the advantages and disadvantages are. And we're not going to get into all kinds of detail because it's you have to be kind of careful with that, but it's a subject that I think a lot of people are interested in. So that'll probably be thrown in for the Saturday, Sunday events. Alrighty, so let's talk a little bit on Birmingham and overall mission of Real Wealth Network. So there's Rich and Kathy on the surf, trotting up and down. There's Rich on the left, obviously, it goes without saying, Kathy on the right. And our overall goal is to make it a lot easier for people to invest in real estate. That's hence the term simplified. I mean, a lot of our members are located in really expensive areas, or maybe they're not. Maybe they live in a really cheap area, but they're busy. They've got other things to do, and their focus is to, give people Novocaine and pull molars. They don't have time to go slogging around neighborhoods and analyze properties. So what we generally do is go around the country and decide what markets we think really make economic sense to invest in. And then after we do that, we then have to do the hard part, which is find a good quality team in that market that's buying and renovating homes to our real standards. They're not just doing cosmetics and calling something rent ready. They really have to go through and do everything. They all agree to our standards before they come on board with us. We check out their reputation, references, background. We look at the neighborhoods. And if we like what we see, we bring them on board as a potential or as an actual affiliate. All right, so why Real Wealth Network? Well, for one, it's free to educate yourself. So it's all right there. I mean, we've got 13 years of history of doing this, all kinds of really cool webinars that are archived, although if they're 13 years old, they're not archived. We get rid of them pretty quickly if they're not up to date, if they're not timely. We've got a lot of webcasts and podcasts and all kinds of information on 1031s and conventional and non-conventional financing, and it's all right there for people. So we encourage you to join, check out the education, and when you're ready to connect with us, that's also free. In fact, we don't charge our members anything. And it's all connected. I mean, the way we make our money, just so that you know, and everybody asks, is a broker-to-broker finder's fee from the affiliates. The affiliates are the approved providers I was just talking about. If Joe Schmo does a strategy session with me and he turns out Joe's really interested in, say, Houston or Birmingham, and we connect them with Houston and Birmingham, and Joe goes down and buys 2 houses from Birmingham, the Birmingham affiliate sends Real Wealth Network a broker-to-broker fee, and that's how we keep the lights on, and that's how we do all this. They pay it, the affiliate. You, the investor, does not. All righty, so we find out what markets you like, and we connect you with those particular resources, and none of it costs you a single penny. All right, so a couple different things. We get a lot of questions on this, so I just like to go out of my way to make sure that people understand. We don't help our members flip houses. We are more of a buy and hold network. We're not going to help you flip stuff. I mean, flipping is fun, flipping is great, but that's just not what we're built. We're built more to build long-term wealth through property acquisition. Most people like to have, a portfolio of 5 or 10 or 15 homes. But right now, since there's loans on them, they're not really paying a whole lot, a couple $100 each maybe. But if you use that positive cash flow to pay the loans down, then 15, 18 years from now, you own them free and clear. And now we're talking real money. So some of the requirements, if you plan to purchase a property with cash, you really need at least $60,000. I mean, that's about the bottom line. And that number's slowly inching up. But some of our markets, Cincinnati, Detroit, they have properties for 60 occasionally, although that's the low end of the range. Some other markets, Houston, Tampa, you need a lot more than that if you're paying all cash. Obviously, if you're financing, then you only need 20% of that number, plus maybe some reserves and closing costs. Number 3, if you plan to use your IRA to invest in a property, you'll need to have at least $50,000. And the logic behind that is, if you're using financing within an IRA, They'll loan up to about 50%. So, you want to have at least 50K in the IRA so that 50% of, say, a $90,000 house is 45,000. 50% of an $80,000 house is obviously 40,000. You want to have some extra reserves for the lender. They need to see some reserves. If you plan to obtain conventional financing, that's the 20% down golden tickets, as Shaylee calls them, one of our lenders. You will most likely need a FICO score of at least 680, 2-year job history at a U.S. company, 20% down payment, as I previously mentioned, 6 months reserves. Now, that's not necessarily hard and fast, but that's just a good idea. When you're getting a loan, they want to make sure you're not scrimping and saving and putting your last dime down, because then you'll get into real trouble the minute something unexpected happens. They want to make sure you have a nice low to debt to income ratio. It's usually around 40 to 43% minimum. If your debt's higher than about that, in other words, if you got $10,000 coming in every month, you better not have any obligations totaling more than $4,300, because if it totals more than that, then your debt to income ratio is too high. And then final bullet point, no more than 10 finance properties on your current credit report. Good problem to have, right? Most people don't have that problem. But if you have more than 10, you have to kind of go off the reservation. You can't get conventional financing anymore. Our friendly disclaimer, real estate purchases are subject to investment risks, including the possible loss of amounts invested. While RWN uses its best efforts and proven protocols to screen, review, and understand the operations of each of its affiliates and their related companies, we do not guarantee the performance of investments offered through these companies. It is the responsibility of the investor, of you, to perform his or her own due diligence and analysis before retaining an affiliate and prior to purchasing an investment property. And again, affiliate is our term for the property providers in the various markets that we've checked out and feel comfortable putting our name behind. For anyone purchasing a property, Real Wealth Network requires you to order an inspection from a licensed home inspector. We'll give you a list of all these things that you want to do, so it's not like you have to remember this, but you always want to get an inspection. And then you want to order an appraisal. And obviously, most people finance. The lender's automatically going to do that. You won't even have to worry about it. However, if you're one of the 4 to 5% of people who buy all cash, then you do have to remember to order one, because there's no lender involved. There's no one that's going to order one. All right, there is all little red dots. That's where our affiliates are. Those are the markets that we're currently in. And going west to east, we've got Albuquerque, New Mexico, Dallas, Texas, Houston, Texas, and then the state of Alabama. We've got Huntsville up north, although it's hard to find a property there nowadays, Montgomery down south, and the blue star is what we're here to talk about today. That would be Birmingham right in the middle. Then down in Florida, we've got, starting the south, we've got Tampa, and then we got Orlando, and then we got Jacksonville. And then our upper Midwest, you have Chicago, Detroit, Indianapolis, Cleveland, Cincinnati, and Pittsburgh. All right, so why Birmingham? Because we're going to focus on Birmingham today, but really, and I'm sorry for those of you who've gotten it, and I'm just being a broken record, really the focus of these Tuesday webinars is just to kind of drive home the point that whether or not Birmingham is something that you're particularly interested in, you want to connect with us so that you can have the keys to the castle and go to the Thursday webinars and go to events and get detailed information. So we're going to focus on Birmingham today, but the point is also that you really want to connect with us if you can. We're trying to kind of narrow things down a little bit and have qualified people that have all connected with us. So anyway, back to Birmingham, one of the most important business centers in the Southeast. It's ranked second in the nation for millennial home buyers, which is pretty interesting. I wouldn't have guessed that. I've been there a few times, but I would not have guessed that. One of the top 10 cities for job-seeking grads. And downtown Birmingham, 40% residential growth. I mean, that last time I was there about 9 months ago or so, pretty impressed actually with just the downtown. We did a tour, and the base was Birmingham, and we checked Birmingham out, and it was quite a bit going on. 46% of the population are renters. So that's pretty amazing. You expect rates like that in really pricey places like San Francisco, where it's probably more like 75. But even in Birmingham, I mean, 46%, more than almost half are renters. Rental rates versus home values allow for a real good cash flow. You've got a great climate. It's, you don't have loads of snow, but it's also not, prone to hurricanes or anything. Diversified economy, growing market, and the cost of living a whopping 16% lower than the national average. Number one, steady growth. In other words, what this is talking about is what are the top real estate investment factors? You want to invest in areas that have steady growth, that are affordable, and have steady cash flow. So, I mean, if you live in Seattle, yeah, you've got the growth, but you don't have any affordability. That's out the window. And there's cash flow, but it's negative, negative cash flow, the kind you don't want, where you watch the cash just flowing steadily out of your pocket because your mortgage is $6,200 and you're renting your place for $43. And gee, that's $1,900 that's flowing the wrong direction. So you want to have those three things, and Birmingham certainly does have all three of those. All right, 1.85% change for the last 8 years in terms of just the overall growth of the population. And it's got a little over 1 million population is the estimate for 2018. Looks like they're at 1.150 in 2017. So steady growth is there. Affordability is there because the median home value is only $110,000. Now the green, they're highlighting the neighborhoods that Real Wealth Network invests in. In other words, our affiliate in Birmingham, they don't just invest anywhere in Birmingham. They have particular neighborhoods that they like due to cash flow, due to neighborhood makeup, due to proximity to certain amenities. So slightly higher average price in that neighborhood than overall Birmingham. But look how much lower it is than the United States as a whole, 41% lower. And the median price for Real Wealth Network member neighborhoods is 44% lower than the US average. Linear markets. Now, what do we mean by linear market? You know how like San Francisco or Phoenix or Vegas or Miami, if we looked at a graph like this, it would zoom up and down and up and down and up and down quite regularly. So linear markets, they don't do that. They just kind of straight track. And you can see that US overall is linear, but looking at the US market in anything real estate is pretty much a meaningless factor because there's so many different markets and they're all completely run at cross purposes to one another. So it's like that orange line, it's like I almost want to just ignore it. But the point here is that look at the red and blue line. It's pretty much tracking up a very slight, but during the down years it went blipped down a little bit, and during the up years it blipped up. I mean, if we went back another 6 years beyond that, and I'm guessing here, but I think it's a pretty reasonable guess, 2004, 5, and 6 versus 8, 9, and 10, whereas in a lot of other areas they went really far up, roller coaster up, 4, 5, and 6. And then roller coaster plummet down in 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. And you can see, even though we start at 2012, it's pretty linear, pretty conservative, pretty boring, which is good from an investment standpoint. Prices are appreciated at a really conservative 1.66% per year. And some of you may say, well, that's not good. Well, it's just you're basically tracking with inflation, just barely. Steady cash flow. About $1,000 every month, $1,099 median monthly rent. So, I mean, it's very narrow range in terms of what the actual rent is. But if you've got an 80% loan, say you buy a $100,000 house, $110,000 house, and you'll see when we're going to go through some performance later, but you've got nice steady cash flow because the rental rates are far and away well above not only the mortgage, but the principal, interest, taxes, insurance, and management. PITIM. PITIM is what we're looking at. Rent stability, stable rents. So like it's a little bit of a mild roller coaster, but if you look at that range there, it's always in between 900 and like 1050. Median rents have increased 2.84, so rents are going up more than appreciation, which is interesting, unusual, but pretty good. All right, here we go with our 3 performers that we're going to highlight today. Now, these houses are not available. These are just significant and average examples for Birmingham. So this first one, 3-bed, 2-bath, 1,300 square foot, kind of at the higher end, 150,000. And if you just kind of look at these numbers, and the column on the left is if you finance it, and the column on the right is all cash. So we'll just kind of walk through this slowly. And in the fine print over on the left, the very last line, it says, it is also recommended that buyers set aside between 3 to 6% of rents for vacancies and maintenance. So that's not included in the list here because it just says that 3 to 6%. So if it's renting for $1,000, then we would recommend that you set aside 30 to 60 bucks a month. Just, it's your money, but set it aside just so that you have a little bit of money set aside for when it does go vacant. All right, so anyway, down payment, 20% of 149 is 30,000. Closing costs, we're just taking a flat figure of 3,000 essentially. Initial cash invested of 32,978. There's your P&I of 662, principal and interest. That's 80% loan, so whatever 80% of $149,900 is at 5.25%, amortized over a flat 30 years. They're predicting your taxes are going to be $181 a month, insurance $62 a month, property management, which is based at 10% of the rent of $1,395. And so anyway, after all those costs are deducted off your rent of $1,395 coming in, you subtract the property management, insurance, taxes, principal, and interest, you've got $356 a month left over, cash flow. So that's pretty good, $356 a month. Now, if you paid all cash, I won't go through the numbers, but essentially it's all the same with the notable exception of the principal and interest, that there's no loan to pay. So you have $662 more in your pocket every month. So now we've got over 1,000 cash flow. It looks like it's on a nice big lot. Just think how loud you could blast the music because you don't have any neighbors. Alrighty, this looks like a split level, a little bit less money, 102.9, down payment of 20,000. I won't go through all these details, but boom, 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 and you've got $332 cash flow every month. And you put a lot less money down because instead of being 150,000, this house is only 103,000. So you can figure out the rate of return essentially by just dividing one number into the other. Annual cash flow of 3,984, the number at the bottom, and how much money did you put out? Divide that 3,984 by your initial cash invested number in green, about a third of the way down, and there's your ROI. And then the all cash example, same as last time, only now you've got $787. All right, third and final property, purchase price. See, they keep going down in price. So this one's a little less at $85,000. So your down payment of 20% of $85,000 is $17,000. And there's all the rest of the numbers going down the line, and you've got monthly rental income of $865. So your income's a little lower, but your costs are also lower, but you've got a monthly cash flow of $273. So I think these are pretty sweet numbers. I like them. And if you paid all cash, no P&I, you've got $648 coming in. All right, let you just kind of soak up those numbers here. I like that kind of Frank Lloyd Wright-ish look to that house. Okay, so if you are ready to proceed, and here's our just rough qualifications. You want to be kind of ready to go. We just say 6 to 9 months because we're not in this to rush anybody. I mean, you might be ready tomorrow, but you want to be able to be ready to go within 6 months or so. Have 30K cash, liquid and ready to go. Ideally, just sitting in a bank account waiting, and then you have to be able to qualify for financing, and that's always a biggie. If you're not really sure about that, or if you're not sure if you're able to qualify, if you log into Real Wealth Network, over on the left it says lenders, and there's like 4 lenders that are listed there, and just you can pick one of the 4 and just reach out to them. They're right there. I mean, you can use anybody you want, but most of our affiliates prefer that you use a lender that they're comfortable with, and we've kind of gotten it down to these four. That's not to say that if you're already pre-approved with somebody else and they can do loans in the state where the property is, that's not to say you can't use that person, but we recommend, and the affiliates frequently prefer that you use one of the ones. But you can discuss that with them. First step, decide what market you like, and that's frequently the hardest thing. And then once you decide what market, or maybe you narrow it down to 2 or 3, then you can get with your investment counselor, whether it's me or Joe or Aristotle, and just we can help you decide what lender might be right for you. I mean, they're all pretty much the same. It's just one lender I know isn't licensed in Texas, so his company can't do Texas loans. So we can just kind of help you. You wouldn't want to get all pre-approved with somebody and then go to buy a house and, gee, oops, we didn't tell you we can't do that state. All right, I've got a question here. There's no mention of age of properties. Also, is plumbing all renovated? Also, no mention of type of neighborhoods. Well, okay, that is a Thursday webinar question for the affiliate themselves. Generally in Birmingham, and I'm going out on a limb here, but the properties are probably going to be in the 60s and 70s. It's not as old of an area as some of the areas up in the upper Midwest. Plumbing is not all renovated. It depends on the condition of the plumbing. It's not like they're going to rip out all the pipes underground and replace them just because. They almost always will replace faucets and plumbing that's being used, because those things wear out. But they will replace copper and put PEX in if they need to. But do they do it automatically? Not necessarily. And then also no mention of type of neighborhoods. I can just issue a universal comment on that most neighborhoods are going to be B or C neighborhoods. C plus, B minus, B, or B plus. We don't really like to do A, because A neighborhoods, where it's just a lot more expensive, and they usually don't cash flow because rents don't keep up with the price of the property. And we certainly don't do D or below, because the numbers may look great on paper, but you've got much higher turnover, lower quality or caliber of tenant, lower caliber of neighborhoods, higher crime. There's other issues that really negatively affect the performance of properties purchased. Not in all cases, but in most cases. So most of our affiliates focus on the B and the C neighborhoods. Okay, questions. Well, hey, how convenient. We actually are taking our questions right now. So do you work with 1031 exchanges? Absolutely. We have all kinds of buyers that are doing 1031s. They're selling a property, or they're about to put a property on the market, and it's in Denver, and it's at the top of the market or close to it, and they're selling it for $450,000, and they want to reinvest in 3 to 5 properties somewhere else. And the only thing that changes the dichotomy there, or just your MO, is that when you're doing a 1031, you have to be kind of careful about, obviously you've got the 45-day and the 180-day window. When you sell your property on a 1031, the property that you're selling, you have to identify the properties that you're going to buy into or 1031 into within 45 days. You have to turn in a list of properties. And then within 180 days of the close of your property, your original selling property, you have to close on the new ones. So it's fine. It's easy to do 1031s with our rent-ready providers, because they have not tons, but they have lots of inventory. Not all of them. And your investment counselor will make recommendations. Like we've got a couple of affiliates that are pretty small. They only have like 1 or 2 deals a month. And that's unusual, but it wouldn't be the best choice for a 1031. You want to go with an affiliate that has a good choice, depending, of course, on the size of your 1031. If you're selling a $2 million building in Noe Valley in San Francisco, and you want to put it into 15 properties in 2 different markets, then you better, we'll make recommendations and hook you up with 1 or 2 different affiliates that have that much inventory. So if you are interested in attending the Thursday webinar with the Birmingham affiliate, click on the link. I just sent everybody who's attended this an email. And on that email, there's a time where you can schedule to connect. I blocked off tomorrow's schedule, and I just didn't want anyone trying to schedule something when it's blocked off. So I've just unblocked it to free up a bunch of slots for tomorrow. You can talk with me for 10 or 15 minutes or longer if you want, up to half an hour, and then we can get you connected, and you can hook up with the Birmingham affiliate. You can watch their Thursday webinar, or if you're not really interested in Birmingham particularly, but want to connect with us anyway, just so that you do have access to all the other markets, then by all means, do the same thing, connect. And, I expect that there's going to be quite a few people crunching it for tomorrow. So if you're like, I'm really not interested in Birmingham, then maybe just pick a time for Friday or early next week, or just go ahead and book it for tomorrow. No one's going to know, so I wouldn't worry about it. One of the slides mentions a 2-year job history. What if one has the funds and reserves? Is this sufficient considering that the properties will have tenants? Does not the bank look at the rents for financing? Yes, they do, and I wouldn't stress over the 2-year job history. It's just, if you are, for example, self-employed, you can still get non-owner occupant loans, which is what this is. You're not buying it to live in, you're buying it to rent out. The standards are a little higher because people tend to hold on to their primary residence longer and are more likely to default on or walk away from a investment property. So the banks set the bar a little higher, but you don't have to have a 2-year job history. They're mainly looking at your FICO score. Make sure you haven't had any short sales in the last couple of years or bankruptcies in the last 7. And they just want to make sure you've got enough income coming in compared to how much debt you have going out. So yeah, that's for the most part sufficient. And yes, the bank will look at the rents. So if you're looking at buying a property that has, $300 positive cash flow after all expenses, well, $300 times 12 months, that's $3,600 income a year. So they will count, not necessarily all of it, but they'll count a certain percentage of it as additional income to you. So it actually helps your situation to have this property. And so I've heard Graham, who's one of our lenders, say that, hey, if you can qualify for one, you can qualify for 5 or 6, because each one progressively helps your situation. So yeah, the banks do look at rents. All righty, we've got another question here. What are the economic growth factors for Birmingham, and what industries are growing there, and what are the main industries? Okay, well, that is a super detailed question about Birmingham, and I am not a Birmingham expert. We did have one slide back there that talked about the population is growing and how it's a good hotspot for millennials buying homes. But in terms of the actual specific industries, I believe that she's probably going to touch on that a little bit on Thursday. I know there's a fair amount of healthcare there, but I'm not going to go beyond that because I might be doling out this information. But I think that citydata.com, city-data.com is a great place to find out that information as well. But our Birmingham expert will be talking about that. That is it at this point. For anybody have any more questions, by all means, type them in. So if anybody wants to get into it in more detail for Birmingham, find out all about that market, come back in 47 hours from now on Thursday afternoon at noon Pacific, 3 p.m. Eastern. And I will be there, as will be our Birmingham affiliate. And we're going to be talking about all the details, but the focus of that is to go through a bunch of different properties that they have available. And if you're not so much interested, then just still book a time, connect with us, get in our system as having had a strategy session. It's very beneficial to you as the investor to have done that. And we're not getting, hope it doesn't seem like we're trying to, get something out of this. You're not going to be sold something once you get on the phone. It just allows us to know that you're real and we're real, and then we've connected, and then you have much greater access to our resources. If you haven't had a strategy session, you're pretty much limited to just the lenders and some other stuff. I mean, you still have quite a bit of things, but you can't get specific individual information on who the affiliates are. Webinars are kind of tough to come by. So if you could, we highly recommend that you do that. All righty, no more questions have coming in. So I think that does it for us. Once again, my name is Ben Smith. I'm the Director of Investor Relations, also a investment counselor here at Real Wealth Network. We do this every Tuesday at noon and 3 p.m. Eastern, and then we do the detailed one on Thursday. So thanks, everybody. Appreciate it. Sign up, and we'll see you Thursday. All righty. Bye-bye.